Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle, and today we have with us Grace Saunders, who is no relation, but it's really cool to have her on the program. So welcome to the program, Elizabeth.
Why, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
You know, it really is cool. I mean, I've done, I think about, to this point, 300 interviews and never had anyone with my same last name, so it's pretty neat to have someone on the show with a Saunders name, so that's pretty awesome. And hey, just as a side note, do you get from people that are talking to you and introducing you saying Sanders?
I do, especially because there's like Sanders fudge.
Well, or Colonel Sanders from, Kentucky Fried. So anyway, exactly. I just wanted to commiserate with you and just see if you had the same thing that happens to me, which you do.
I have.
So give us a little bit of background. You're the founder of Real Life E-Time Coaching. So tell us what your company is and what the significance is with E-Time Coaching.
Absolutely. So, I'm the founder of Real Life E-Time Coaching, and the backstory on the name is that I started, this is my second business, and originally it was called Real Life Entrepreneur because I was doing speaking to women and also men, but primarily women, about starting businesses. And then it evolved into time coaching, which is where, like it sounds, I do time management coaching with individuals around the world. And most of my clients were not entrepreneurs. So all of a sudden the name needed a slight adjustment. So it got shortened to Real Life E. And so the E stands for, in my opinion, encouragement, because that's a big part of what I do through my work. And then also it happens to be my nickname. So that's what my family calls me. They call me E. And so it works.
That has many. I love how there's always some kind of a backstory, and then it ties into a personal one. So that's awesome as well. So here's a question for you. I think that the sound of time management consulting would be like, a lot of people would be going, "Oh, I need that." But then, do you ever find that people listen, hear what you have to say, and then they don't do what you recommend?
Yeah. Well, so there's a few different things. So number one, I almost haven't met a person that doesn't say they want what I have to offer. So that's kind of baseline. That's fair. But as business owners, there's a huge difference between people wanting something and valuing it and being willing to really make a change. So the first answer to your question is, I would say there's a ton of people who know they need to change their time management but aren't actually willing to put forth the effort to make the change. So those are the kind of people that might say, "Oh, that sounds amazing," but would not end up being my clients. Then among the people that end up being my time management coaching clients or consulting clients, there is an investment of time and money to the program. So I would say the vast majority of individuals that I get to actually work with, either one-on-one or in group coaching, do take heed to my advice and do really make changes. But even then, occasionally you get people, for one reason or the other, that don't partner with me as much in the process as I would hope. And I think one of the things, as anyone who's looking to help people bring about transformation in their lives, is that you need to be totally committed to partnering with people in the process, but recognize you can't rescue anyone and you can't control anyone, and you shouldn't try to. So our goal is empowerment and bringing people up to that level, not like enforcement and like pushing or demanding that they do something, I don't know, to make our ego feel good or something.
Yeah, as I was at a conference earlier this year, and one of the speakers made a comment just similar to what you just said, which is like, "I am not your savior. I cannot save you from your own self, from your business, from your struggles, but I can come alongside you and I can be your guide and show you how to navigate through some of these things based on my experiences that I've had." So I think that's a really powerful mindset shift for a lot of people. Do you find the same thing?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been doing time management coaching for over 8.5 years. And when I first started out, I wasn't as experienced. It wasn't that I wasn't good. I just wasn't as experienced. And I would start to get afraid. It's like, what? They're not doing everything and changing as fast as I want. And when you do that, you kind of get into bad patterns of, trying to push harder to bring about the changes. And when I really recognized that wasn't creating the best results for me or for my clients, I learned to calm down and to relax and to hold them as powerful and hold them as strong. And it's, in some ways, it's a more vulnerable place because you are really needing to let go of control of what happens. But on the other hand, I think it's much more powerful place. And my goal as a coach is to create independent, self-sustaining people. And so I really want to bring people up to the level where they can do this on their own.
Yeah, because it's kind of like, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, and he is set for life. And so that's the mindset is, I don't want you dependent on me forever, because then you're just doing what I say.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, great point. So tell us a little bit about some, maybe a couple examples of successes or transformations that you see through working with clients. What are some things that they have taken away from your coaching?
Absolutely. So to understand the kind of people that work with me, it's huge variance in terms of demographics, everything from people in college to people who are retired and everything in between. But in terms of psychographics, they tend to fall into two categories. So one category are individuals who are just completely overwhelmed. They're working crazy hours, not getting sleep, don't feel like they can keep up, and they're just like running at 1,000,000 miles an hour. The other category are people who are also overwhelmed, but instead of that meaning they're doing 1,000,000 things, they're falling into horrible procrastination, not getting stuff done, feel awful about the fact that they're not working. So those are kind of basically the two categories. So in the first category, the people I would say are overworking. In terms of transformations there, I can think right now of someone that I worked with recently who's a partner in a law firm. And she had really fallen into the habit of working late almost every night, working both days on the weekends, and literally just feeling like she never had time off. And she couldn't, not only did she never have time off, she felt like she could never keep up. And by working with me, she started to transform her relationship with time management from a very reactive one of I do what everyone wants when they want it to a much more proactive, I have a plan for my day, I have a plan for my week, I get into the office earlier, I have focused work time, I set boundaries with people about when I'm available for meetings or when I can even do impromptu kind of drive-by things, when are office hours, when are not. And then at the same time, she got really clear on what she wanted to do on her time off that would be fun and refreshing. And what was so exciting for me is that through the course of our training, she started to feel a lot more on top of things, work fewer hours, so less time in the office, and be taking more time for exercise and personal projects that were important to her, having more time with her husband, all of that. So that was amazing on that end. And then on the end of people who finally aren't working enough, what gets me so excited is when, I know it may sound odd, but for people in this category, this is a big deal, but when they're reporting back things to me like, I wasn't on my personal email all day, or I only checked it for like 30 minutes at lunch. And I've seen people who really struggled in this area, not only not procrastinate, but I can think of one client in particular who got a promotion while we were working together because she so transformed from really avoiding the work to doing the work that was recognized, and she got pulled up ahead. So that was very exciting for both.
Those two examples are really diametrically opposed, right? You've got one that's working so much, and we need to tell that person how to fit it in and kind of level out. And then the other one is focused on the wrong things and not working enough, in the business side of things. So you need to kind of goose the inspiration and the motivation in that. So I think that's really interesting how some time management or prioritizations apply to either one of those aspects.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, they're both overwhelmed. It just manifests in polar opposite ways.
Yeah. Ooh, that's really interesting. They're both overwhelmed, but here's something to consider as well. How about the person who is, self-employed entrepreneur? They are kind of got a little role going. They're not brand new, and they know they've got to get things up to a certain level to then be able to feel like they can then throttle back just a little. They're not working 9 days a week, but you got to grind it out at the beginning. So how do you tell someone like that to, pace themselves without them feeling like, yeah, but I've got to get some things done to get the business, to the next level?
Okay. Well, first of all, it kind of depends what we're looking at in terms of the overall ecosystem. Because if we're talking about someone with a full-time job plus developing their business on the side, then yes, we are looking at substantially more hours. If we're looking at someone who is doing their business full-time, even in the initial stage, you definitely need to get work done, no doubt. But in everything I've researched, everything I've seen, productivity, particularly once you get to, for most people, 40 or kind of at the max 50 hours a week, is really not more when you work more.
Yeah.
If you work 60 or 70 hours, I guess you're putting in more hours, but the actual incremental amount of quality work in almost every study is like, yeah, no, it's not going up, especially when it's over time versus like a short sprint, for a particular deadline. So what I would say there is I really honestly think that it's just simply not true that you need to work 70, 80-hour weeks to start off your business. What you have to do is you need to focus on the highest quality activities that actually produce results. And I think one of the biggest problems of saying, oh, I'll just work 12 or 14-hour days is you work 12 or 14-hour days doing a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't matter versus if you actually spend the 8 or 9 hours a day focused on doing those sales calls that make you crazy nervous, or writing that proposal or getting that website done that you keep saying needs to get done, you're probably going to get way more results way faster in terms of your actual, billable client work or product sales than you are, quote unquote, working crazy hard to do something that may be a lot of extra activity without necessarily a lot of extra results.
Yeah. Great point. Hey, so tell us a little bit about your book, the Divine Time book. I think that's really awesome to think about. There's more of a responsibility on our time than just ourselves and our immediate family.
Yeah, absolutely. So just as a little bit of background, I have written 2 prior books. So they were in the business world. The first was published by McGraw Hill, the second by Harvard Business Review. And so I've come at this from a very practical time management point of view for most of my career. And just a couple of years ago, I really had a strong conviction that I needed to start to bring together the spiritual side of my life with the business side. And to be completely transparent, that freaked me out because I like to be politically correct and have everyone like me.
Sure, or you don't want to turn people away.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like this is a hobby. I've been an entrepreneur for over 12 years, and that's how I earn all my income, and I really was not sure how people would respond to this. And so just good news is that, there were a few people that were perturbed, but in general, there's been a tremendous support from people from all faith backgrounds of just me being authentic to myself and integrated. So I just want to preface it with that. And then in terms of, and also just encourage entrepreneurs in general or people, I know you focus on helping people have authority or influence. like when you're your authentic self, people are drawn to that.
Yeah.
And then in particular with this book, it's called Divine Time Management. And what this is I would call it, say, a God-centered approach to time management. And what it does is that for people of faith, I'm personally a Christian, it's about shifting your emphasis from your trusting in your own self-discipline, your own self-improvement, your own ability to control life, to believing that there's a higher power, and I would say that would be God, who loves you, who cares about you, who has a plan, and who is actively at work on your behalf. And the reason why I think this is important is that I believe that, and I see this in my own life, we experience so much stress and so much even fear when we try to control every aspect of our life, because at our core, we know that's not possible. And so it creates kind of this dissonance where we try harder to control everything and push harder and make everything happen, but underneath we know that that's kind of a false belief. And so this book is offering another way. Divine Time Management is how do we let go of that control so we can really live a life of trust, love, and alignment with God. And
if, to your point, it's like if you don't like meat, then don't eat meat. If you don't like potatoes, don't eat potatoes. So, if this is not a book for you, then don't read that book. But for those who do feel like there is more, like you need to have that integrated life. So many times people go, well, hey, I go to church on Sunday morning, Sunday night, and then Monday through Friday, that's my work. And it's almost like you put on this hat and then that hat. Well, in reality, we need to have that integrated life, because if we have that focus on doing things the right way for the right reason and following the Lord's steps and guidance, now all of a sudden, why should that be different on Wednesday or Thursday or Tuesday?
Exactly.
And have you read the book, The Prayer of Jabez?
I have.
So what you were saying there reminded me a little bit about Jabez moments, which is like, if you are too busy and you are so jam full in your day that you're sprinting from thing to thing and you're just not even doing any one thing wonderfully, well, if you could just kind of lay low and do things, precisely, you are going to see maybe some moments where maybe there's a word of encouragement you can give to someone, or maybe there's some extra, giving that you can have time-wise for someone else, whereas otherwise you're just grinding it out trying to make that extra buck.
Right, exactly. And I think it's like, I know in the Prayer of Jabez, it's the idea of like, God, expand my territory. And it's really like every morning when I pray, I pray for favor. I pray for the favor of the Lord. And I think a big part of it is having that humility that it's God God can do more in an instant than we could do in a lifetime. And if we truly believe it and live that way, then we can have that life of love for others and love for God and love for ourselves, which is a big emphasis in my book. But if we don't believe that to be true, then that creates a lot of like, I'm sorry, I don't have time for you. I don't have time for you, God. I don't have time for you people because you're standing in the way of my goals.
Right. And I need to do this thing. And now all of a sudden, what? So you can get more stuff and, have it rot or whatever the case is, or, get that extra, promotion at work. And in reality, sometimes that extra promotion work is not good because it takes you away from your family or whatever that may be. So I just like the concept of divine time management because it really does put that extra level of accountability in where you're spending your time. And we've all heard it said that if you you can tell someone's priorities by looking at their calendar. So what is let's wrap up with what is the best way that people can read your book and then also reach out and connect with you on some time management as well?
Absolutely. So if you're interested in more about the book, I recommend going to divinetimebook.com. So again, that's divinetimebook.com. It will show you where you can order it, which is currently on Amazon as well as many other retailers. And there's a great book video there. And then in terms of connecting with me in general, whether it's about time management coaching or speaking, my main website is reallifee.com. So that's RealLifee.com.
Awesome. Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much for coming on today. It was wonderful getting to know you and learning more about your business and your book.
My pleasure.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.